Welcome to Module 8 of Life Scene Investigation, Prima Facie Evidence. Again, remember, prima facie evidence is what is obvious. And we're collecting all those obvious pieces of information we call evidence that is defined by what we talk about in terms of strength. What is it that defines you as the very best of who you are? What are those things that you perform at a high level of capacity on a consistent basis? That's what a strength is. And so in Module 8, discovering evidence of my intellectual life scene, remember life scene is that which is cordoned off with that yellow crime scene tape. We call it life scene tape. So we're going to be looking at what's in your mind. How does that mind work? There's a great book by an author, I think I'm trying to remember his name Thomas something, but it's called All Kinds of Minds, and there are many types of minds, many ways of approaching information, retaining information, remembering information, communicating information, and that's what this life scene is all about. Before we really get into this life scene, you should have read chapters 19 and 20. Again, discovering evidence of my intellectual life scene, parts 1 and part 2. It is my capacity for knowing and knowledge and thinking and learning and understanding and processing information and remembering information. Remember to read through the Lockhart principle as it applies to intellectual capacity. It's important. Remember, Lockhart said we leave information, we leave evidence around us at all times of every day. You can't go through any moment of any day without intellectual strengths being seen in your life. Everything you do is preceded by thought, or should be preceded by thought. We think about putting a foot in front of each other. We think about catching a bus. We think about the times we have to be at places, the goals that we've set for today, the meetings that we have, the textbooks that we have to read, things that we have to do, the people we have to communicate with. These are all preceded by thought. When you look at on page 22, it's again just a quick exercise, nothing too detailed, just in each of those boxes list 2, 3, 4 pieces of evidence about your memory. Tell me about your memory. Some people have a great memory for things that go back 30 years. Some people can't remember what they had for breakfast yesterday. Tell me about your memory. What are the things that you remember? What about your IQ? You're supposed to take an IQ test. Go to the Psychology Today website, do one of the tests. It's free. Just an IQ. And again, tell me what that is. What about your GPA? Think about the GPA you have at the moment. The best GPA you've ever had in a semester or a year. What about the subjects you love? You have exercises that you'll go through that talk about the different subjects that you look forward to going to class with. You love the teacher, you love the subject, you love reading and you did extra credit for it. Things that you really just absolutely loved. I hated math. I loved history, I loved psychology, I loved theology, I loved philosophy. I loved reading about stuff like that. But the other stuff, math and physics and everything else, it just had a visceral reaction. I would step back from that. I would be anxious as could be, even thinking about going to class. We're asking you to talk about the things that you love. What about the witnesses? Who said something about you intellectually that meant something, that talked about something that you were really good at? And then we talk about style, and there are a number of different exercises that we ask you to look at in terms of your learning style. A learning style is the way that you take in information in the best way possible. We're all different. Some of us are tactile. We have to feel and we have to touch. Some of us have to watch the teacher and look for cues. Some of us are auditory. We have to just listen. We can close our eyes, and sometimes we'll have a teacher saying, "Open your eyes, stupid, and look at the blackboard." Doesn't make any sense. We take in information better when we simply are listening, and some of us can, instead of reading a book, we go to a book on tape and we listen to it there. Some of us have to watch. There are different ways of learning and taking in information, so we want you to understand what that is as well. Again, these learning styles are really, what they are is learning strengths. We also do a couple of other exercises. One talks about being global or analytical. What side of the brain do you use, and what side of your brain best defines who you are in terms of being more, you see the big picture as opposed to the small picture. What again I want you to understand about IQ tests when you take the IQ test is that it doesn't really define your life. But it also, as I gave you an illustration of a girl called Danielle, who was a girl who was a cheerleader who thought that she really didn't have a brain, she had a brain, but she didn't think it was too great. But she did an IQ test. A girl who wanted to become a nurse who thought that simply because she'd always focused on one part of her life, the physical, that she really didn't have any great intellect. She took an IQ class, IQ test in one of the classes that we ran, and she got a very high IQ, about 130, which is very high. And all of a sudden, her goals and her purpose in life changed from simply doing a 1-year nurse's diploma to doing a full 4-year nursing degree. Because all of a sudden, one piece of information that didn't lie, evidence that didn't lie, told her that even though she had focused on her physical all her life, that she also had a brain that she could now focus on. And this evidence that we discovered through an IQ test opened up a whole new world to her. Danielle's a nurse today. This was a number of years ago she did the test. She's nursing in Seattle, Washington. Great, lovely girl who's very physical, who's a cheerleader, who did many wonderful things physically, discovered evidence that she really had incredible intellectual capacity, and it changed the course of her life. So what about you? As you've gone through these simple exercises, as you're going to go through some of the follow-on and application exercises, again, review things in your life, get information from witnesses, ask people again, what are the subjects? Ask your parents, ask your teachers, ask friends and family. What are the things that you know really grab my attention intellectually? Tell me about my memory. I talk about Patty, the Starbucks barista. Talk about her memory. That's intellectual capacity. There are a lot of life scenes around you that as you look at and as you identify people around you, look at their lives, identify intellectual and physical capacity. Write it down, journal about it, talk about other people's strengths as well. When you do that, again, you're changing the whole way you look at life. Instead of seeing what's not, you look for evidence of what is. Evidence of strength, reality that's tested, that's verified.